Okay, I'm getting ready to put the intake manifold on. I got all the rockers on, which are these parts right here that rock back and forth. That's why they're called rockers. They open up the intake and exhaust valves. Those are driven by the camshaft. So the intake manifold is what sits right up in here, and I'm getting ready to put that on, and I want to show a couple tips on that. So if you see in these corners where the cylinder head here meets the block, that's a discontinuity there. So that is a spot, a proper spot to put silicone in these 4 spots right there. The other spot I like to put silicone is behind the gasket. See, this is the water, where the water comes in when I was talking about the water pump. This is the block side, and you use the intake manifold as its control mechanism and crossover. So usually these get ate up a little bit from that water, so I like to put a little bit of silicone on there, and it also helps hold the gasket on. So I'm going to show you something on the gaskets. So if we look at this gasket, see this little notch right here? That's pretty nice. Dodge didn't do that. What this does, and I don't know if you, it's probably too far away to see there. I'm going to reach over, see if I can show you this. So, this is what we got right here. That hooks in. This is the top of the head gasket here, because I put new head gaskets on there, right? So that hooks in there and helps hold it in place. Then with the silicone on the head side, when we put that on, it'll also help hold it in place. So, that's how I'm going to put it on. That's the areas I'm going to put silicone on. And I'll show you the intake manifold here in a second, get you back off. This is the intake manifold. What it does is your throttle body opens, or your throttle plates open, the air comes in and goes down into these individual tubes. One tube feeds one cylinder. So that's how it directs it. Like this one, the air would come down into this one and go into this cylinder. This is the fuel injector that sprays the fuel at the right time when that air's coming in, and then it'll be sucked into the engine and compressed and be ignited. So that's kind of how that works there. This goes in that spot I was just showing you. Now this is what ties into that water jacket right there. So there's got to be a good seal, or else the water can leak into the engine oil area. And antifreeze and water is not a very good lubricant. So to touch up a little bit of what I was doing on the water pump the other day, the thermostat is in behind this piece here. This is what houses it, right? So this is called the thermostat housing. So whenever the engine temperature, the water temperature gets up to a certain degrees, the thermostat starts opening, right? And allows water to flow up through here and into the radiator. So it'll come in right here on the radiator and then go through all the cross flow and the fans blowing air through it, and then it'll come out here whenever the thermostat's open, right? Because that's a valve, just like your water faucet. When it's closed, you get no flow. Okay, got the intake manifold on the vehicle, and now what I'm doing is put all my bolts in and make sure I have the right bolts in the right locations and that they thread in. That means the intake manifold is aligned up correctly. And what I'm doing now is I'm just starting to zero torque, which is just kind of run the bolts down till they touch. Okay, now that I have all the bolts zero torqued, I'm going to go ahead and start the torque sequence. Now I also zero torqued them in the same pattern that I'm going to torque them down. So you can use a torque wrench on it. But these torque at about 20 foot-pounds, and if you use the, like my torque wrench is a big torque wrench for doing head bolts and stuff, I can't feel or hear the click on that, so I'm just going to hand torque it. So I'm not going to do it all in one stage. Just come over, do a decent tight. Because I'll have to, what's happening is I'm compressing the gasket, so I'm going to have to go back and do this a couple times. So once I get all these in, and it has about that much torque tightened, by the time I get to the end and I start back over, these are going to be loose again. Okay, torquing is complete. The intake manifold is now installed. So I want to point out that I use anti-seize on all these bolts. If you look back on when I tore down the Mountaineer engine, one of the bolts had broken off in there because it'll seize up into the block if you don't use anti-seize. Broken bolts are not cool. Alright, so got it back on. What I showed you is how to install the lower intake manifold on a 5.0 Ford engine. So that applies whether it is going to be your fuel injected manifold or your carbureted manifold. This is good principles and techniques. And it also applies to some of your other engines as well, like your Mopar engine if you have those. You can apply the same techniques as well, right? So hope this helps you out. If so, make sure you hit that like, subscribe. Make sure to share too, that way other people can see it. So, I'll see you next time on Broken Tool Garage.